We have no sound.
Okay, we have no sound on YouTube. Okay, so
give us a
Teresa
second.
Bryant, thank you for giving us. See, this is why I love the interaction and engagement. Can you hear us now, Teresa? Can you hear us now? She started typing, and I'm gonna wait for hello. So Teresa, you can hear us. Give us a thumbs up.
Well,
Are we coming?
Well, she might be responding to my.
Okay. Can you hear us now? No.
No, we hear you.
So the words "no, we hear you" is confusing me.
She retracted it.
No, we can't. No, we can't. No, we do.
You hear
no,
us.
yes, we do, Teresa.
Say
help
yes.
Help us out, Teresa.
If you hear us, say yes.
Say yes.
Just say yes.
If you can hear us, say yes. If you can't,
anybody say yes.
Obviously, you would have to say no. So I think we've got a thumbs up. So
yes.
Okay, yes. So now we can move on.
Okay, so how did we meet?
So
that was the question.
The question is, and just really, really quickly, guys, we're going to recap. Cherie and I have not done this in probably 3 years in terms of going live on our YouTube channel. We did Breakfast with the Brookses for 100 episodes.
Yes.
If you do the math on that, every Saturday, it was probably a little over 2.5 years. Mm-hmm. So it's been 3 years almost since we've done that, and so we're back. Using this platform as an opportunity to share some things that I hope will help you guys and challenge you to go to the next level. Sharon Porter, happy holidays to you, Sharon. It's so good to see you in the room. So can y'all do us a huge favor and share this out to as many couples as you possibly can? We're not going to be long today, but we do want to do our last. This is our 4th episode of the new show. And
the new show is called Behind
Closed Doors
with the Brooks.
Yep. And so we're back. So Cherie, come on, let's talk a little bit real quick. How did we meet? That's the question. So
the year was 1997.
Can you get the whispery part out, or are you just feeling
I'm
nostalgic?
using my radio voice or my character voice. I don't know. So
the
year was 1997.
Here we go. The violence is getting ready to start already.
Help me!
Y'all let me know if you can hear our sound effects as well, because I'm playing with some things. Come on.
Can you let me tell the story now?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, so the year was 1997, and I heard an advertisement on the radio for a youth choir. Now, my daughter had been singing since she was 3 years old. She's always sang in church, has taken vocal lessons, played piano, took piano lessons, all that. So she had stopped singing for a couple of years, just being a kid, doing all the kid things. But I heard this information about this gospel choir. There were going to be auditions in DC, and the age for the auditions was 12. Now, she was not 12 yet. She was 11. She would be turning 12 in a couple of months. And so I happened to have a connect at the radio station, and I called and I asked, I was like, hey, do you think possibly she could still audition? You know, she'll be 12. You know, by the time they start doing stuff, she'll be 12. I know they're auditioning now. Mm-hmm. And so
breaking rules.
I didn't break rules. I
you had
was looking for favor.
The hookup. Holla if you hear me.
So got her approved to audition. And so that Saturday, or on the Saturday, I can't remember, it was a week or so later after I called, auditions were being held at Howard University in Crampton Auditorium.
No, that was Blackburn.
Blackburn Center.
The Blackburn Theater.
The Blackburn Center at Howard University. And so went to the auditions, got there early, which I always do.
Cherie, we're on the clock, so I just want to let you know.
So she was the first one to audition for the choir. Auditioned for the choir, made the choir. Me being me, I, was with her at auditions, at rehearsals, and I started seeing that there were some needs for some things that they didn't have because they were talking about doing certain events. They didn't have permission slips and things like that. And
so let me jump in really quickly just because I want to kind of get to another place.
Okay.
The they that she's talking about would be me.
Yes.
Okay, so I created the youth choir. I was the station manager at WPGC at the time, AM Heaven 1580 for those that go all the way back and remember. And when we put this choir together, the choir was designed to be a marketing tool in the community to basically represent the radio station in and around the community by way of a youth choir. Cherie's daughter, my daughter now, Shantae, joined. And the crazy thing is that Cherie was the same as she is today. So we're talking about how did it start versus how it's going. The same. That
doesn't sound like it's a good thing.
I listen. The same. Like, she is her same buttoned up, super detailed, always, got a plan. And she brought that energy then. But it was that organization, quite frankly, that I needed in my life. I knew what I wanted. I had no idea how I was going to get there. I knew what I needed. I had no idea who I needed that could help me.
Right.
And you jumped in and self-proclaimed herself.
Help me!
Self-proclaimed herself the parent liaison leader.
Yes.
So obviously, Cherie and I started working in close confines, seeing each other a lot.
Friends.
We became great friends, and it was absolutely platonic. Nothing. I wasn't even really attracted to Cherie like that. She wasn't attracted.
Like him either.
We're gonna get to that part. But I was a bit of a jerk. We're not gonna go into that too much.
Right.
But
That's how we met. We met with the organization. Glenn had started a youth choir. That's how we met. We became friends. We're friends for about a year before we actually started dating. And I guess the main thing is that we started out working together. We were working alongside together, working with kids. Of course, my daughter was in the choir, but it was us working together in the beginning, which leads us to now. We've been working together in different ways for the past 26 years, whether it was with the youth choir, whether it was in church, in youth ministry, eventually our own business. We've been in business now for 8 years. 8 years, where we've been working together, been full-time together the last 5 years. 5 years.
Yeah. You came off your job about 3 years in.
Yeah. So we have always worked together, and that's we started that way, and that's where we are today. We're still working alongside each other, sharing our passion together and being able to work together.
So really quickly, I wanted to kind of bring, and I appreciate you sharing that. Sharon said organization vibes. Sharon, you already know the deal. Listen. That's how we move. Anybody that knows Cherie and I know that
that's just a nice way of saying I'm anal.
I'm the creative and she's the anal one. Yeah. I'm going to see the vision. She's going to see the how do we get there. You know what I'm saying? The structure part of it.
Strategist.
All of that. You know what I'm saying? I'm the one that's constantly on party time.
Yeah.
And she is the one that's constantly like, why does it take that much energy? So I just wanted to say that this year, 2023, has been a remarkable year.
Yes.
We came to Panama City, Panama, to visit last January of this year, just January of 2023. And the crazy thing was, it was to do two things. One, it was to celebrate our 24th wedding anniversary. And two, it was also to see if this would be the place that we would live. Cherie and I, unbeknownst to a lot of people, maybe folks who were close to us, people in our tribe, people that we worked with on a consistent daily basis, they knew that we had been planning to figure out what it would look like to live abroad, right? Live and work abroad. A year prior to that, we experimented with going on the road for 3 weeks in the summer, and we experimented what would it look like to live out of pocket for 3 weeks, consistently, hotels, the whole bit. And it was sort of a dry run. And when we figured that out, it was like, you know what, we could do this. And so we planned, we came here to Panama City, Panama, and y'all, we fell in love. Cherie basically didn't want to go home. I'll never forget that day. 10 days in Casco Viejo, and on the last day that we were due to leave, we were traveling with the co-parents, and we're going to talk a little bit about that. They came with us, but y'all, I'm going to tell you something right now. It tripped me out because she was on some, I don't want to go home. And when I say she was on some I don't want to go home, your girl was serious as a heart attack. And when I could tell y'all, so that y'all are super clear, quick background. Cherie is the CFO of our company. She's also the COO of our company and our life. So when she looked back at me and she said, oh, I ain't got to go nowhere, I saw that to mean two things. Number one, it meant that we didn't have to go nowhere. That was number one. Number two, she was on something different. I was like, wait a minute. So you want the unorganized guy to go back to the States and pack our things up? Is that what you're saying? And so quickly she was like, nah, that's not what I'm saying. But I am saying, I think I found my place. I found home. Would that be right, babe?
Yes, definitely. I think that for me, coming here to Panama, I have been looking for my peace. After going, surviving the pandemic, and I was dealing with my own struggles with my mental health. I think I need a place of refuge. And when we came here to Panama, that was that. And so this year, 2023, started off with us looking into it was a new beginning in a lot of ways. We had already been talking about restructuring our business, doing some things differently, just approaching a different phase in our life. And I realized that I had to, for the first time in my life, I needed to put my peace of mind, my mental health, make it a priority, make my health a priority. And so when we came, like Glenn said, when we came in January, the thought was we're going to come see. In my mind, I already kind of knew, but when we got here, I knew, hey, this is it. I felt peace. I felt a release. And so we began making the transition. So this year has really been a whirlwind in a lot of ways. Like he said, in January we visited for 10 days, went back to the States, and literally in 5 months we packed up, sold, moved, everything. We were back here in July 1st. And so had to get rid of everything, have the conversations with family, make sure everybody, knew what we were doing, understood why we were doing it. And take care of all of the things. I didn't realize there were so many things we had to take care of before moving. But also just looking at, I think for me the biggest thing is that I'll be 59 this year. And I think I wanted to be able to live life. I did not want to wait until I was in my 70s to retire and start to really experience life. And I realized I wanted to do it while I was still healthy enough to do it. I wanted to experience something new. And that's one thing that over the course of our marriage, we've always had a lot of first time experiences together.
Let's talk about that, babe. So for those of you guys that are just jumping in, welcome to Behind Closed Doors. It's a brand new series that Cherie and I have recently started. This is actually our 4th episode. We decided to go live. We normally upload episodes every Thursday at 12 noon. This Thursday, we said it's the last Thursday of the year. Let's go live and let's talk a little bit about how it started and how it's going. And I kind of want to recap 2023 a little bit. So we told you the story about how we got here. As soon as we got here, we had to leave and go back. And obviously at that particular point, we realized one thing, and that was we had to prepare not only us, but other people. As it happened in February, when we went back, we had a couples retreat already planned. And there were about 15, 20 couples, I can't remember, that were there assembled in February when we got back. And we basically pitched them the idea of what would it look like for y'all to come hang out with us at our 25th wedding anniversary, as we were going to do our vow renewals in Panama in 2025. So the crazy thing, babe, is that half those people signed up right then and there. And we also noticed that it was the 7th year of our MAPS Relationship Academy. We will be celebrating 7 years for the particular relationship community that we created, one of the products that we offer as relationship coaches 7 years ago. And so a lot of them, even some of the ones that, we sent out emails to everybody and was like, yo, if y'all can come through, we would love to come celebrate. But babe, the thing that I realized is that a lot of people are trying to go on a journey and they've not figured out how to bring other people along for the ride, or clue them in and educate them on why the ride is important. So I want to talk about the co-parents for a second, because they were the first ones to be like, yo, like, where y'all going and what we doing?
Yeah, they came with us in January. They actually came with us in January. They we had started a couple of years back doing family vacations during the summer. We would go to the Outer Banks and they would come with us. They had come the last 2 years. And so summer before last, we were at Outer Banks and we were talking about coming to Panama. And they was like, when y'all going? we coming with y'all. And so they came with us when we came in January. And just to back up for those that don't know the story of us and the co-parents. So Glenn's ex-wife, my son, his son, Justin's mother, we have developed a very close relationship with her and her husband. She and I are, I would say, best friends. We're very good friends. And over the course of, Glenn and I being married, we've worked on building a relationship to be able to co-parent Justin together. But out of that, it went beyond us just parenting him together. We actually developed a friendship. And so we've traveled together, we've gone on vacations together, and so it wasn't strange for them to come here with us. But they were here when we were first scouting out a place, and, to the point that as we were looking at places, like, so that's going to be our room, right? So, yeah, so I know that for a lot of people, that relationship may seem odd, and I don't know if everybody can have that type of relationship with their co-parents. I don't have that type of relationship with my daughter's father. But it took work, and we were willing to do that work. And I think that has, it speaks to our commitment to communication. It speaks to our commitment to family. That, I realize that family, your blood family, you don't get to choose. They are who they are. You're born into that family. But when you can really embrace people that are not your blood and really make them family, I think it's something special. I think that is a special connection because you choose. It's like when you get married, you're choosing that person. And I think that that's a special bond that you develop with people when you choose them to be your family.
So based on that, Cherie, one of the things that we like to help people out in the MAPS Relationship Academy, and if you never heard of it, check out the descriptions below. We're going to update everything so that you can, possibly look into, signing up and becoming a part of that. It's a paid community, but we recognize that people who want to grow something intentionally are willing to make an investment in it. And I think one of the biggest lessons that I've learned in the 25 years we've been together is that nothing happens without an intention. So in other words, I can't hope and wish and pray we have a great relationship. I can't, just decide that, we're going to communicate. I have to work on that. I have to intentionally do things to build those kinds of skills. And so with the co-parents, when we wrote our book about blending families, it's from broken to family to blended. A lot of people, are trying to blend something that they don't want to put work into. I'll put it that way. So for us, that became really important. And so even as we fast forwarded and we realized that we were closing down a segment of our life to come here in one sense, we were building a new one. And the idea was, what does it look like to build a new community? And that's what I kind of want to talk about in these last few minutes. Are you in a place where you are ready to make a switch, but the challenge is you don't have the resources to do it? What does it look like for you to be able to step back for a second? I just liken it to people who are on a job that's a dead-end job, and they realize in order for me to elevate, I got to go get a degree, or in order for me to elevate in this industry, I've got to go get this certification.
Or I got to leave.
Or I've got to leave. Go ahead, I'm sorry.
I said, or I have to leave.
Either way, you're going to have to do something really intentional in order to be able to go and do the thing. So I kind of want to finish out a little bit. When you talk about leave, like, what does that mean, really?
I think one of the biggest challenges a lot of people have is that they're afraid of change. Change can be a scary thing. I've always embraced an attitude that change leads to growth. Change is not always popular. It's not always accepted by the people around you. But I know for myself, I've had to evolve numerous times over the course of my life. I am not the person I was 30 years ago, 20 years ago, 10 years ago, 5 years ago. But I've always invested in change and changing myself and growing to become a better version of myself. And I think that when we look at our life, if you're unhappy with something in your life, you have to be that change. You have to, we've all heard that, but it's the truth. You have to be willing to make that change. One thing that oftentimes with couples that we work with, and I work with, I do a separate group with the women, with the wives, and I always tell them, you want your relationship to be better, then you have to be the one that's willing to do the work. You can't wait on your partner to do it if you're the one that wants to change. The prayer is that as you change, they will change in their responses to you. But if you want change, you have to be the catalyst of that.
Cherie, it's funny because I look at a lot of brothers and I get a chance to lead a group of brothers in the same community. So we have a couples community. It's a night that they meet online every Tuesday night. We've been meeting for 7 years. And then there's a men's community. We meet on another night, and then the ladies have their group. One of the things I'm often reminded, for the men, a lot of times, what drew us was the change that our wives or significant others began to demonstrate. Because one of the things that I notice about men don't follow energy. Men typically don't follow rah-rah. We'll be motivated by it, but we're not going to dial in and just follow that. Does that make sense? Men typically follow production. They follow change. They follow something that says, wait a minute, if I go after what that person is doing at that particular point, I'm going to become that. So I'll give you a quick example. Even in the football arena, they've got these college football portals now where a kid can opt out of playing at the school that they're playing at and enter into what they call the portal. And they can be basically drafted by another team. Oftentimes, they are trying to get with a team that is producing. So I say that to say that a lot of the men that I have had the pleasure of working with, we did not start out the guys that was rah-rah about personal development. That's why you always see more men or more women in church than men, or more women in therapy than men, or more women. I mean, I could go down the list, the business leaders of the world and different things. Whenever it comes to investing in themselves, men typically invest in what they feel like will produce something. That's why we're huge when it comes to business. I'm saying all that to say that 2023 for us was about making the change and investing in ourselves in a way that it produced something. You got something back?
Yeah, so as you were talking, I just got this imagery. So for us, not so much our relationship, our lives after coming out of the pandemic, if you think about a garden, or you think about, we'll just do a bouquet of flowers. When the flower starts to die, when the leaves start to wither, you throw it in the trash. But if you want it to live, you have to nurture it. You have to add nutrients to it. You have to water it. You have to do all these things. Sometimes you have to replant it. If you think about a plant, when the roots start to spread out, it needs to be replanted. And I think for me, us making the changes that we made in 2023, there was a part of me that was dying, that was withering away. Not us per se in our relationship, but just as I overlooked my whole life, there were things that were dying off. Some things needed to die off. But in order to continue to evolve, continue to grow, I needed to be replanted. And I think that oftentimes we are so fearful, or we're so comfortable in what we're in, we're not willing to replant ourselves because they're going to be upset. They're going to be mad. They're not going to understand. If I stayed where I was, I would have died. And I'm not talking about a physical death. But there was something inside of me that was dying, that was withering away, and I needed to be replanted in order to be able to grow, to blossom again. And I feel like that's happening. I don't believe I'm all the way there yet, but I definitely feel like it was a rebirth in a lot of ways. And although it was painful in some ways, because like I said, everybody doesn't understand. Everybody is not going to go on that journey with you per se. And like I said, some things have to die off to a degree. Things will change. They won't be the same. But I think that if you don't do what you have to do for your own personal growth, for your own personal development, you're going to be the one that suffers from it. And in that, the people around you are going to suffer too.
Absolutely.
Because they're going to get the residual from you not growing, from you dying.
So just to wrap it up today, and we're going to pick this up next week. I like the live format, by the way.
I do too.
So let me ask y'all a question. live or pre-recorded? Does it matter? Put one for live or 2 for recorded. Put it in the chat. Which would you choose? What would you rather have? Because here you can ask us an actual question, right? And we can respond directly. But it's certainly easier to produce a live show than it is to pre-record stuff. That's a whole thing. But anyway, real quick, as we wrap this up, babe, one of the things that I want to kind of piggyback on what you said. I think that as you are going into 2024, you are going to have to understand that with growth comes pain. And in essence, if you are saying that I'm not willing to experience pain, you're also simultaneously saying I'm not willing to experience growth. And that happens in marriages every day. There are marriages every day that's not growing. I think it was James Dobson years and years ago said, if 50% of marriages end in divorces, I wonder how the other 50% is doing. And the challenge is, really is we work with people where we can say not really good. Right. It looks good on paper. It looks good on social. It looks good in church. Listen, long before social media, we practice showing up talking about I don't look like what I've been through. That is code for I'm fake. That's code for I'd rather keep you at arm's length than be vulnerable with you and let you actually in my house. And one of the things that Cherie and I decided to do a long time ago is we decided we wouldn't live that way. We did not want to live in a way that us refusing to grow damaged us personally, damaged each other, and certainly damaged the ones that are around. Let me tell you something right now. If you know anything about gardening, everything is going to have to get pruned at some point. You're going to have to cut it back in order to get it to grow. The question is, how are you cutting it back and what direction do you want it to grow in? I'm getting a bunch of lives. Everybody likes the live version. Y'all prefer us show up live. Cherie is recoiling a little bit because this is my jam. But I don't know, live every week? No, I like it.
No, I don't mind live. I like the live format as well. I wanted to go back real quick. As we go into 2024, I want to challenge everybody that's watching to take some time. We got a couple of days left for the end of the year, and a lot of people have already done this, but take some time and evaluate what in your life, what areas do you need to nurture? What areas may need to be replanted? And replanting does not necessarily mean a physical replanting. It could be repositioning. Let's say repositioning instead of replanting. But what are those areas? What are those things in you, in your relationship? What needs to be nurtured? What needs to be pruned? What needs to be repositioned in order for you to have the relationship that you want, what you believe God has for you to have those healthy, functional relationships? Our biggest goal, our passion is that everybody can learn to have healthy, functional relationships, that we're able to break the generational curses of dysfunctionality in families, that it doesn't have to be that way, that we can change that narrative. But that starts with change. Somebody has to be willing to change. If we all decide we're going to just stay, I'm going to stay the same way. I'm not going to change because he's not changing. I'm not going to change because she's not changing. Nothing is going to change. And when I said earlier that you have to, that I tell the ladies all the time, if this is what you want, you have to be the one to change. Now, that doesn't mean that you're cowering. It doesn't mean that you're accepting things that aren't acceptable. Part of that change can be you putting boundaries in place and saying, look, this is not acceptable anymore. But there has to be some type of change that happens for change to happen. Absolutely. And I just want to encourage you guys as we go into 2024, let's make, everybody says this, that let's make 2024 our year. No, let's really make 2024 our year.
The way you
let's
do
really
that.
do the work to make 2024. It's not going to happen by osmosis. It's not going to happen by a wish and a prayer. It's you got to do some work in order to get what it is that you truly want out of life. And I believe that it's possible for everybody to be able to find their peace, to find their happiness, to be able to have healthy, functional relationships. And I just want to encourage you guys to do the work. Yep. And if you feel like, if it's relational, if it's, in your married relationships, if you're in business together, particularly couples that are in business together or that are career-minded, we've learned how to balance that, how to juggle that, and how to do that so that we can have a successful business and marriage without sacrificing either one.
Yeah.
Shameless plug. That's the name of my book also. But if you feel like that is something that, an area that you guys need to nurture, you need to work on, we'd love to hear from you. We'd love to see if we could possibly help you with that. But if not, just find somebody, find a tribe, find a community, somebody can help you to do the work.
That part. So real quick, because we are out of time, Corwin asked the questions. What are some questions that can help you figure out what needs to change or where you need to go? See, that's something that I really want to pick up next week. And I want to talk about that. And I want to encourage you guys. And I know that sounds a bit of a cliffhanger. I have an appointment. So that's the one challenge about doing stuff live, is that it really butts up against other things. But let's pick that up. And I want to answer those questions. Next week, we'll talk a little bit about, literally some questions that you can ask. Because we asked ourselves a bunch of questions. Cherie and I don't have this all cranked up. We do not have this thing worked all the way out. But we are willing to change enough in the moment to get us to the next moment. Does that make sense? If I change enough in this moment, it gives me hope that I can get to the next moment. And if I can get to the next moment, change can be there for me too. So when we're sitting back and we're looking at what we're doing, it still is something that I pinch myself on a regular basis, realizing I'm in a whole different country. And let me just say this last thing. I am here because I decided to support my wife, not because this was my idea. So there had to be a willingness to change my mindset around the idea of uprooting for any reason. And I need y'all to understand that in this regard, she led the way. And we're going to talk a little bit about that, because I think that oftentimes, particularly in relationships, you have this pulling and this tugging and this warring going on back and forth where folks don't want to make those adjustments. And as a result of that, y'all, it just becomes really a challenge. It really becomes a challenge. If you can, do me a huge favor, guys. I want you guys to like and subscribe to the channel. Thank you so much for joining us. There you go. It's above your head, babe. But we're going to come back next week, and we're going to pick this up, and we're going to answer these questions. And it sounds like the people are speaking.
The people have spoken.
They are speaking. We're going to get some more on the...
We'll see.
Yeah, but it's easier.
I like live. I mean, I like when we did Breakfast with the Brooks. Once I got used to
that was the part. Yeah, it's
echoey?
because when you talk and I'm live, we got to go back to the signals. Because we're so close, you're talking into my microphone and vice versa. And so watch this. So for example, go ahead and talk now.
But it shouldn't be doing that because of these microphones.
It's the volume and it's the proximity that we are. Okay. These microphones are not $1,200 microphones.
This is the challenge with live. Y'all get to
you
see this stuff.
You understand me?
But yes.
Now, what you just said is we need to go reinvest into some upgraded microphones so that we don't have to go through that, because I'd like to get me a $900 Shure SM7 that will eliminate this issue off the rip. Oh, I can fix the problem. Yeah. At the end of the day. Yeah. You can't get to any place of significance by yourself, because we all need. And this sitting in the same room situation is pretty dope. How about that? Y'all didn't think we were in the same room, did you? Tell the truth.
No,
tell the truth.
They did.
Y'all be good. We'll be back next week. And we're going to go live again, first week of the new year. And let's set it up and let's try and get it better. We're going to figure it out. Love you guys.
Thanks
Y'all
for joining
be good.
us. Please
Thanks for joining us.
Ring the bell
like,
so
share, ring the bell, and tell somebody they need to be here next week. Thursday, 12 noon. It's going down. Y'all be good.
Bye, guys.